Ladies and gentlemen, filmmakers and moviegoers alike, welcome to this week's episode of Critic the Casual. I'm your host, Recuffs. Joining me, as always, is the can't think of an appropriate thing, the super amazing Dorkydev. What's up, Dev?
The Omega class mutant
Mm,
Dorkydev.
that might be a little generous there,
We all know my power would be tied to emotion, and that's why it would be an Omega class.
because you can't control your emotions.
No, I can, but like I'm very I'm very tied to my emotions, you know. So
Yeah, I get you. I can see that working.
right?
Yeah, sure. Either way, I'll go with E-class mutant, and we'll move on. Just kidding. Either
I will
way.
kick your ass.
Anything else you want to talk about before we get into this week's movies?
No,
No.
I think we're good.
Okay. This week, because I'm super clever with what I do all the time, I've decided to call this week. Wait, what universe? Because now time travel's a bitch, and we're talking about X-Men First Class, X-Men Days of Future Past, and then X-Men Apocalypse. And news and wrap up. It's always a fun segment.
Yeah, because there's always so much to talk about.
Every time.
This week
every
we
week.
actually have a little bit to talk about because of what happened, but like we're not talking about it because we're not going to talk about the thing because of what it was. We're talking about the incident that happened at the thing more than likely
Yeah.
because everything else there was bullshit from my understanding.
Academy politics. Fun times.
God, I hate the Academy Awards.
Hey, the Academy Awards hate you too.
I know.
That's why they put us up through this. Put it up to us the same way every. Yeah. Uh,
Someone like apparently said something about animation being for kids and stuff like that, but it's like, bro, like some of the best animation for all ages.
it's an underappreciated art form for sure. Genre.
So's
Still,
horror, so's action, like
horror. It's
heroes.
my favorite, but still, I'll say it's pretty shitty sometimes.
Oh yeah, but like there's some really good horror movies that happen. You know?
I don't disagree.
So yeah. Um yeah.
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 Okay. Let's just get in there then. Let's just start talking about our first movie for today. Get this out of the way, get it over with, end the show in under an hour. I'm just kidding.
It's entirely not really, no, not with this. I have a lot to say.
Yeah, let's get in
As
here.
we go further along, I have more to say. Um
First class.
which was released June 3rd, 2011, with a budget estimated of about $160 million. Opening weekend made $55 million in the U.S. Gross U.S. made $146 million, and worldwide $352 million. So this was originally supposed to be X-Men Origins Magneto when it was created, because they were going to do the Origins bullshit. But then Wolverine happened.
X-Men
And they
Origins
kind of
Wolverine, yeah.
and they kind of went, maybe we should change that. Because of the quality of X-Men Origins Wolverine. And they made the right choice cuz I mean like less people probably would have seen this. Um this is arguably the best X-Men movie. And by what I mean like that is it shows off the X-Men, right? You understand everyone's powers, and you have a lot of fun with the characters. Mind you, there's some straight up bullshit like how do you destroy Darwin?
Very
Like,
easily, obviously.
I'm sorry, but that shit still bugs me. Like, don't introduce a character who can't die
and then
kill them off.
Yeah, I mean, but that just shows how intense that this is gonna be. You know, he can't die. He survives everything, and then he doesn't. Oh my goodness, the drama.
It, which really does show that Fox had no idea what they were fucking doing, because this is the best X-Men movie. Like, when it comes to just like being a X-Men movie about the team, it does it the best. But it has still so many issues like that, where they just don't know what they're doing with the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like with the Emma Frost scene where Magneto crushes the diamond,
Mm-hmm.
she won't be changing the diamond again. Literally, her next scene,
Yeah, the next time we see her,
she turns to diamond.
totally fine. She's not brittle anymore. She's totally healed. All's right in the world.
Man, there's so many little things. Also, like, man, Beast looked weird in this.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. Like, I don't like. I mean, it's supposed to be a young Beast, sure, but I did not like just the general look for Beast at all.
The prosthetics were off.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely did not. Like, it's weird to say that in this one that fucking Nicholas Holtz, at least in this one, his Beast looks worse than Last Stand's fucking Kelsey Grammer. You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's weird to say that because that movie came out like 5 years before this.
But yeah,
I
when I think of Beast, I think of the original X-Men trilogy, like that Beast. Even though it's still not the best, it's still better.
I think it still looks really good.
It's better than
Like,
this, that's for sure.
yeah, like like I just pulled it up. Like Kelsey Grammer's Beast looks like Beast, how I would imagine him.
Mm-hmm.
From like Ultimate Comics and stuff like that. Um, this Beast looks like it's trying to go for more like the Beast in the comics, which is fine in like the regular comics line.
Mm-hmm.
But like you got to do it right, and it just isn't quite there. Like I don't know how else to describe that. It's just not quite there.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't. Just looking at the picture of his face, like it doesn't look awful. It just like it looks like it could be a real furry person, I guess, but it just looks weird.
Yeah.
Though I do gotta say, best makeup goes to. Sorry.
What?
Sorry. Best costume goes to Jennifer Lawrence. Totally. Um, me being
I
an
think her
ass.
Mystique looks fine.
Yeah, Mystique looks fine. Damn fine. Girl.
Jesus Christ.
That's the
Why?
joke I was trying to get at there the whole time.
Jesus.
I mean, I do like the cast. I like the story that we got in this movie. Other than, I'd say the weirdest part about it for me was I didn't like Azazel.
Why not?
I feel like if they wanted Nightcrawler, they should have just had Nightcrawler.
Azazel's a character in the comics.
I know, but nobody but the comic book people would know that. Everyone like me would be like, "Hey, who's this Nightcrawler knockoff?"
He's Nightcrawler's dad.
I thought Nightcrawler's dad was Magneto.
No.
And it was Magneto and Mystique.
No. It's Azazel and Mystique.
Good times. Why isn't he purple?
Jesus Christ.
I'm asking the hard questions here.
You're asking the dumbass questions right now. Like, why, like, you couldn't just infer that, like, that's his dad? Like, everyone else did?
I could obviously infer that was his dad, but still, I don't know if, like, the choice. I didn't know who Azazel was before he popped up in this movie. I still don't even know who he is after this movie. He's just a person who could teleport, and he's red. And then a few later movies, we get to see another teleporting person who is nicknamed the Devil, and they're blue, and it was just confusing. I understand, obviously, that one leads to the other. I'm not that dumb, but I'm also trying to make a joke here and have fun.
I'm sorry. Sometimes I question,
Mm-hmm.
question it because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you do say things that like are pretty dumb.
Mm-hmm. Part of the fun.
And it does leave me occasionally questioning, what you're getting at. You know what I mean?
Mm, sure.
Occasionally. I'm sorry.
You're never sorry for what you do. I'm gonna make you the monster now, and me the victim. Are you ready?
What the fuck? Okay.
Let's just get back on focus here. X
Yeah,
Men First
I don't know
Class.
what you're getting at here. All right. It's the best X-Men movie from like being an X-Men movie based standpoint. Like Logan is obviously a better movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's a Wolverine movie, not an X-Men movie. So that's how I differentiate. And this is the best the X-Men were like can be, in my opinion. When Fox had it, because it's just an enjoyable time. And it's good. And then we end up with what we get later.
I didn't realize that Zoe Kravitz was Angel.
Yeah, I talked about this when we talked about Batman.
I know, but like, still, it like when I look at pictures of her now, and then I see that like her then, I was like, to me, these don't even look like the same person. Just, I know she's in the movie. I know we talked about it in the past. I was like, huh, that's Zoe Kravitz. Interesting. That's not how I remember her. That's not how she's in my mind's eye.
Fair, I guess. That's fair.
You're just looking to
I
argue with me. I could see it. You're like, I want to yell at
I
you
don't know
about
what to argue.
something.
What? I'm just saying fair. Why are you instigating?
I'm not trying to instigate here.
I was just saying fair.
Fair.
God damn, dude.
Let's see. Anything else that you want to talk about in First Class?
It's interesting to use Hellfire Club this way. Given that the Hellfire Club is supposed to be tied also to the Dark Phoenix story, and would have been cool, because we've already reviewed Dark Phoenix a long time ago at this point. Would have been cool to see like the Hellfire Club come back for that. You know, like a new iteration. But this is the last week of the Hellfire Club. Just one and done. It's kind of lame.
And could you remind the people who don't know who the Hellfire Club are, who they are?
A group of mutants who like are kind of trying to take over the world
Okay.
and build a better tomorrow kind of thing.
Okay. Just those.
But they're not really good at it because they honestly they fuck it up every time. Because they're another group of mutants trying to make the world in their eyes. Much like Apocalypse does, much like Magneto does with the Brotherhood. Like, there's always an evil group of mutants because internal conflict between a class of individuals is entertaining, I guess.
It sets a powerful message. I don't know.
Does it?
It used to long time ago. I don't know. Nowadays, it's just entertaining characters telling the occasional story. Unless you talk about like the modern rebooted X-Men, then those ones are. I haven't read their comic book, but they look weird.
Are you talking about the stuff when they're on that fucking island where they keep being like unable to die?
No, like
No?
there's they like remade the X-Men not that long ago. Have completely different heroes as like their main heroes. I think was called one was called like Safe Space, the other was called Snowflake. Yeah, and like these are real X-Men.
Yeah, I know, but that's not like the X-Men team.
Pretty sure that's either way, it doesn't matter.
They're mutants,
Hmm.
but like they're not like the current running X-Men team. Like, and that wasn't even that big of a deal in the X-Men stuff.
So it's like, I don't read comics. I don't know anything.
I
That was the
know.
last thing I heard about it, and it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, I'm gonna shock you with how long ago that probably actually was.
Probably, if I had to guess, 5 years at most.
They were New Warriors.
Was when.
Um, there's a different group of mutants as well. Um, hold on, I'm just trying to fucking find them. Looking through the wiki for 2020, April 15th.
Okay, so almost 2 years ago at this point.
Yes.
Not as far as I thought, but still.
But in the world of comics,
In the world of comics, they died a long time ago. No one's ever heard of them before.
no, they're not dead.
Damn.
Damn, what? Why are you?
No, I mean, like,
Why are you like this today?
I'm not trying to be combative here. It's just like I'm trying to make a joke about how with comic books, the characters die and then they reboot the universe, and then it's like, hey, we're starting over again. Hooray!
You know that doesn't happen as often as you think.
No, I don't. Still, like I'm trying to have fun here.
Yes, but you're doing the same. Like you're doing the tired joke that everyone makes about comics. Okay.
That's
really
because I
old,
don't
tired
know
joke.
anything about
I
comics.
know. I can tell.
What do you want from me?
I'm allowed to. Can I criticize your comedy when it's bad?
No.
From a standpoint of being someone who's in that like medium, you know, as a fan.
All of my comedy's bad, but because it's comic book this time, it's offensive. I don't know.
No, that's oh Jesus fucking Christ. I'm trying to help you improve the comedy.
Mhm.
Okay? Like, look at me as like someone you're telling the joke to before you do your like your type 5.
Mhm.
And if you went with that joke, anyone who's a comic book fan not going to be huge like laugh at that much because like those like especially Marvel doesn't reset the universe all that often. It's very very rare Marvel hits a reset button. Most of the time their quote unquote resets are just redesigning who's where in the teams and stuff like that. Because of an event that happened, so the teams are kind of different now.
Mhm.
Because people are on new paths because of the event. Like Thor might be dealing with off-world stuff, so he's not really going to be in the Avengers. So you need someone who's kind of like that god role. So like maybe Hercules is in the Avengers for a little while. In that role. Iron Man, you know, he's maybe helping Guardians of the Galaxy. So he's in space. Maybe Ironheart or, you know, Rhodey or even like someone who doesn't have a suit of armor is taking that role. You know, maybe Nova takes the spot. Stuff like that. It's more of a soft boot. I wouldn't even say soft reboot. It's more of a soft boot because it's like they're just shuffling what's happening because of an event. DC hits the reset button. I'm not even going to argue that. Because like what we saw New 52 and then Rebirth in like a decade. But that was because New 52 was a bad reboot of the timeline, and it wasn't enjoyable for anyone because like they got rid of the history of the comics
Okay.
that had happened. And then so Rebirth was kind of meshing that back together, so we had the original history and a little bit of New 52 stuff. So I can give you DC a little bit, but they've done it twice in like 2 decades. It's just a really dumb joke. Okay?
Sure.
I'm sorry. One of the 2 major comic book distributors have done it twice in like 2 decades.
Two more times than I don't know. Yeah, I hear you. I understand what you're getting at.
Okay, I'm just trying to like. It's a very just tired. It's a tired joke. Okay, I'm just so tired of it.
I can tell.
Because people say it all the fucking time, but if you actually understand comics, it doesn't happen that often. Like, sure, some people come back from the dead. Like, that happens. All right, and that is a joke. That is a joke you could make, being like, and all of a sudden, 3 comic books later, oh, they're back. And how do they come back? Oh, some weird thing happened. That's true. I can't deny that. It happens all the time. There are some characters who stay dead. Like Goliath is still dead from Civil War after Thorbog fucking ran through him. Like literally flew his hammer through him. It was a Thor like clone cyborg thing that the guys on Iron Man's side created, and then it kind of went rage mode. And flew through Goliath's chest as he was giants, killing him. And he hasn't come back. It's kind of a weird stain on Marvel too, because like Goliath hasn't come back, and he's one of the few heroes who hasn't really come back, and he's black. Some people are kind of like, why? Why this? It's like, what the fuck? I think his name is, I don't remember if it's Timberwolf or not, but like the Native American X-Men who like got killed off, and I don't think he's come back either. So just one of those things.
The Dragon asks a real question there. Is Uncle Ben still dead?
Oh, yeah, duh.
Uncle Ben never has a second chance. His death is a fixed point in time. Without it, we'd never get Spider-Man.
Well, not true. We need a Uncle Ben archetype.
I mean, it's kind of like the Doctor Strange explanation in What If, yeah. Because our Doctor Strange it wasn't about losing her, it was about losing his hands, is why he became the Supreme Sorcerer. But in What If, it was about losing her. So in this universe, it's about... You get where I'm going with this, right?
It's about losing her instead of him. No, not always. It's not always a fixed point.
I mean, there's
Flashpoint.
Flashpoint paradox, where you get Batman who's old man Wayne.
Yeah.
Don't they call him like Batman Black or something too, or?
He's just Batman.
Batman, okay.
He's Flashpoint Batman.
Flashpoint.
Man, your fucking like knowledge on comic books is just lacking. Is shockingly lacking for the people you were around in high school. It's insane. To me, I don't know.
Yeah, never had the money to buy comics, so I never did, and
I didn't either. I just went to Hastings and read.
Yeah, Hastings. The only time I ever went there was to pick up movies for like a weekend movie night with my mom.
Yeah, I would just like we would go to because we didn't have a washer dryer that worked, so we went to the laundromat all the time. So I would just be like, all right, Dad, I'm going to Hastings for the next like half hour. Text me when it's time to start folding.
Mm-hmm.
I would just sit there reading.
I mean, you also live down the street from Hastings too, while I lived
Okay,
across
by
town.
down the street you mean like a mile plus?
Kingman Mile, yes, but still.
I wasn't just walking there on a whim.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And like relatively, I still lived across town.
Yes, but
So
like I didn't exactly live right there.
yeah, it's
It
not
was still
next
like
door technically.
it's still like if I wanted to go to Hastings to do that on my own, it would be like a 20-minute like walk there.
It's not bad, honestly.
What?
It's not bad, honestly.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna go there just to read. Like, it's a time killer.
Dragon over there lived in. Yeah.
It's shocking. Okay, I'm sorry. It
Mhm.
shocks me. It shocks me to my core. Um, but yeah, like, dude, that's why again, back to the X-Men. Um, why like this movie being the best X-Men movie still has problems like killing Darwin. Like I can't quite put why like they would do things like that, right? Like the Beast makeup looks like it looks comic-y, right? And but if we didn't have the Kelsey Grammer one before, I feel like this one would have looked better.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like it would have worked if I didn't have Kelsey Grammer's from like 5 years before this
Yeah, that
to
super
look at and be
handsome,
like
charming man.
with that looked like Beast.
Mhm.
Like I'm like, I'm sorry if I think about how Beast looks, I think about Kelsey Grammer before I think about this version Beast. And even when I'm thinking of Nicholas Holt, I think of the next 3 movies Beast before I think about this Beast because it's not a great Beast design if you know how like Kelsey Grammer's looked. But yeah, I mean, it feels like there's a lot of duds in this, and it just kind of hurts, um, that this is the best X-Men movie. Because like if you compare it to like the original trilogy, like sure X2 is great, but it's still very flawed because it's early 2000s.
Mhm.
X-Men 1 obviously is just a lot of monologuing. And Last Stand is Last Stand. Um, there's some fun stuff in Last Stand. Don't get me wrong. Like I love like some of the designs, the characters and stuff like that in Last Stand, but like it's really dumb. Um, and this is a very competent movie, but still doesn't fully understand its source material.
Mhm. I've got an interesting question for you, Dev.
Yes,
The helmet that Sebastian Stan wears, Sebastian Shaw, whatever his name
yeah,
um, is it magnetic?
it's metal.
Ah, like, I only asked this because of, and we see in the second movie that yes, Magneto can move the helmet with his powers because it's metal and whatnot. But in this movie, we never see him directly touch the helmet. He always uses something else to magnet the helmet essentially. Like he'll grab it with a cable that he's using his powers on instead of just directly using his powers on the helmet.
It's entirely possible it's made of a metal he doesn't quite understand the magnetic polarities to yet, until he starts to interact with it more.
Maybe possible. There's also, time skips that don't explain some things, but we'll get to that in the next movie.
Like how people got to where they are.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they kind of explained that.
Kind of, but we'll get to that in the next movie.
Yeah, like I was saying though, like it doesn't fully. It goes with the fact that it feels like um X-Men under Fox's hands never quite understood what it was doing.
I mean, you could kind of argue that no one really understood what they were doing with their Marvel properties until Iron Man came out.
You could in some cases. Like, I mean, because there are some standouts. Like Blade 1 kind of understood its premise pretty well. As that franchise goes on, it doesn't
Yeah,
fully
and then we
understand what
get
it needs to
Blade
be.
3.
Listen, when we eventually review Blade Trinity, we're gonna have a lot of fun with that. That stupid fucking movie. I think I can agree with you. I think a lot of people don't understand what they were doing with comic book movies. Like, even like arguably one of the movies that people hold up as the best superhero movie ever made, in my opinion, is not a good comic book movie.
I'm
You
assuming you're
know,
talking about Watchmen.
I'm talking about Dark Knight, but that
Okay.
works too. Um, because Watchmen is Zack Snyder sitting there sucking his own dick again for like another fucking half hour's worth of fucking music montages, with the rest of the movie being just talking. And I mean, that's part of the story, but at the same time, I don't need like a half hour slow motion and a half hour of fucking music videos and then an hour of everything else.
It's still 50% everything else. It's fine.
Yeah, because that's what fucking also it glorifies Rorschach. And like, if you listen to the guy who created that fucking story, Rorschach's not supposed to be glorified.
Mm-hmm.
He's supposed to be like, hey, this is what you shouldn't be like. Anyways, um, like, yeah, and I agree. Not everyone really knew what they were doing in comic movies because, like, again, when Marvel Studios finally did it with Iron Man, like, they took the premise that they took the camp and made it work. Like, Iron Man's suit, if you really think about it, is stupid as shit looking. It's gold and red,
Mm-hmm.
and it's supposed to be like discreet in some way, right?
Yeah,
But
Hot
it's
Rod
not.
Red. They literally make that joke in the first movie. Hot Rod Red.
I'll
That's
add
really
some
stealthy.
I'll add some hot rod red. I'm sure that'll be stealthy for
Mm.
you. But it fucking worked. They nailed it. Um, and then Marvel just kind of was able to continue doing at the worst meh movies. You know what I mean? Like, through some of Phase 2 was kind of meh.
Mm-hmm.
We all know this. But then we get to fucking Phase 3 after Whedon is out and the Russo brothers kind of take on, like, help Feige with the bigger movies, and we get arguably like some of the coolest comic book movies ever made. Um, because they understand what they're trying. They understand the source material well enough to adapt it into the medium. And the problem that Fox always has is that they never truly understood their medium, and it's shown in this that like that we have another character called Angel, who I think is supposed to be Pixie. I think is their name in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we could just call her Pixie. Like, we know what Angel looks like because we literally saw him in the last real X-Men movie that wasn't X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
We saw Angel. He has angel wings. Like, we know this. What? Like, dude, they just never understood what they're doing with this. And this movie shows that, but it is still really good. Like, and that's not to say, and a lot of that comes down to the cast. The cast is fantastic in this. Uh, James McAvoy, McAvoy. Oh my god,
James McAvoy.
McAvoy. Um, Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, Kevin Bacon, um, Rose Brie. Like, they're all fucking fantastic. Nicholas Hoult is great as Hank McCoy. Um, Like, they all do a really good job with these characters, and what they're given with them. Um, so like I can't truly hate this movie because like it does a really good job of like kind of showing the X-Men in a way. And like, if this was the first X-Men movie, you know how fucking high hopes I would have going forward.
Probably quite a few high hopes.
Yeah, it would be it'd be like I'd be making a living. Um, but unfortunately, That's not what happens.
You want your popcorn kernels?
Do you have anything else you want to add?
Nothing I can really think of right away. Not like nothing that screams I have to talk about this.
Yeah, I'll give it some popcorn if you got it.
Oh yeah, here's your 10 kernels, Dev. How many? I'm making
7.5.
okay. Respectable, respectable. I was
Like,
gonna.
part of me wants to give it an 8, but at the same time, like, I can't quite do it.
Mhm.
Mostly because of the Darwin thing. Like, that's just a fail right there. That's fail RP. -1.
I give it a 7 myself. Totally fine, good movie. I like my favorite thing is especially the relationship that we actually get developed between Magneto and Charles.
Oh yeah, like it feels like that their relationship feels like what we would get when they become uh their characters in the later movies.
Hmm. Like
Um
I love the fact, and like I think it's X2 where we get to see them playing chess across from each other, or X3 I think actually. Um,
X2 does it.
mhm. Like I just like that where they still they're arch
X1 does it
enemies.
too.
Yeah, there's arch enemies, but they still meet up just to play games as friends, just because they have opposing ideals. So it's I love that, and I could definitely feel that being the relationship that these two develop later on. Yeah, I would, like I said, I gave it a 7, so I think we're ready to move on here. Start talking about our second movie from today, which, oh, great. Things aren't right. Things aren't set up properly. Doop, doop, and
Uh-oh.
a doop, doop. No, not right. That's still not right. This way. Right there. Hey, I'm working on it. There we go. I've got you. I've got me. Perfect. Next movie. You're fine. Get back in position. On your mark, damn it.
The next movie we're going to talk about is X-Men Days of Future Past, which was released May 23rd, 2014. With a budget of $200 million, it opened in the US and Canada with $90 million, gross US $233 million, and worldwide $746 million. Um, Man, am I always so conflicted about this movie?
It's. I kind of agree with you. There's.
It's one of my favorites.
Eh, I'm definitely conflicted when it comes to this movie.
But it's not a great movie.
No, like.
I would rather watch this over First Class,
Mhm.
but I know First Class is the better movie.
Like, I mean, watching this, you get a lot of interesting stuff. I like how it actually gets the legacy characters and the new versions of the characters all in the same movie, so you can actually identify them
Right?
as being the same characters, just different timelines.
Yeah, and like, dude, some of the fucking future shit is the when we get the fucking fights in there.
Mhm.
Holy shit, are they fucking cool?
Mm-hmm. I was about to say, I feel like this movie was also the one where they start kicking up the brutality of the powers and like the kills and stuff that happens. Like, sure, there's still not a lot of blood, but you still start seeing people broken and impaled and beheaded, and
This movie is unrelenting towards some of the characters,
mm-hmm.
and like it's, but it just the problem with it is they had to do the thing where they do the future thing at the end, and then make more movies after this,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of leave you in a spot where you're like, so how do we get to that point then, Chief? Because I'm not quite sure how we got there.
Yeah, I mean, especially because this movie ends, then we get uh the next movie, which is Apocalypse, which we'll talk about in a moment. But like that happens, and then after Apocalypse is
Dark
Phoenix,
Phoenix.
and then after Dark Phoenix is Logan, but apparently before Logan is the end of the new timelines of this movie, I think.
Potentially. And somewhere in there during that time, New Mutants happens.
Hmm.
Which just adds more questions.
I'm confused. Wait, what timeline are we in?
And Deadpool timeline too.
Yeah. See, with
Oh,
Deadpool though, I feel like just because his whole power is he breaks the fourth wall, like I feel like it could be the most powerful person because he's like, oh hey, I'm in the multiverse now. I'm bigger than the guy with all the Infinity Stones. Oh
God, you can imagine Deadpool's Infinity Stones.
no, I don't want
He just needs a reality one, and then he'd be unstoppable.
to.
And now everyone sees it my way.
That would be chaos. Everyone can tell that they're in a comic book. They just look up and
Or
see
a
the
movie.
person. Yeah, just person watching them.
You know what would be cool? A crazy effect that they could have done, they could do in a movie, because it's entirely possible to do this. Okay, is for anything that Deadpool does where he breaks the fourth wall and like it literally points to, and you see the screen. You have a camera inside the theater pointed at the audience. So anytime that scene happens,
That
it shows
that'd
it
be
shows the audience there.
interesting. That'd be tough, but interesting.
The only problem is once it goes to home release.
Yeah, then it's like, huh? Are we allowed to use footage from the devices that we have planted in your homes?
Yeah, it asks, can we use your camera
Yeah, it's like,
for this movie?
can we use the camera in your Alexa unit? Wait, there's a camera in my Alexa unit?
But yeah, like, dude, this movie is just like, it's got some really cool shit. Like, it's dope. We get to see some awesome stuff. Like, dude, the Quicksilver scenes.
Yeah,
I love Quicksilver in this franchise.
yeah. The Quicksilver scenes are amazing. They're the best part. I honestly feel with most of what goes on in these movies.
And like, because I don't know if you know about the road cut of this as well.
With Anna Paquin.
Yes. Road cut just changes some scenes where like they go and like Magneto and Bobby, I think maybe one other person, I'm not 100% sure. Go to find Rogue. Um, and so I'll just explain that real quick because we didn't watch the Rogue cut. We just watched the regular one. But in that time, that version, Rogue, I think had touched a psychic, and they just used her to essentially use Cerebro, to target mutants and stuff.
Hmm.
So they save her. She touches Kitty because Kitty got cut, pretty badly, and she takes over Kitty's spot as the one sending Wolvie back. I think Bobby dies during that part, in that cut, if I remember correctly. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, dude, it's like I kind of wish we would have gotten that cut for the regular cut because I think it would have made things more interesting and made the future have a little bit more to do. Because like there is a large part of this movie where you're like, oh right, the future's still happening.
It's happening at the same time the past is happening. That's convenient.
Yeah, but we don't really do anything in the future
Hmm.
until the Sentinels, and it's like okay. And I do gotta say, I do like the Sentinel designs, of the '70s versions.
Hmm.
Future versions, I can live with, but I'm not the biggest fan of.
The future versions just make me think of Steppenwolf, but like the new Justice League, Zack Snyder's
Yeah,
Steppenwolf.
yeah, where the fucking armor's reactive.
Hmm.
Yeah, 100%.
That's
I don't
that's.
know. Go ahead.
I was about to say that's just how you show reactive technology. Is it does the little sparkly stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, like the scaly movement.
Uh huh.
It can't just it can't be motionless. It has to move. Ooh. So, yeah, I mean,
This whole movie is just an excuse to have Hugh Jackman in it. Probably just he had a contractual obligations like, all right, we need to throw him in one more X-Men movie before we do Logan. That way we're done. Then they came up with this where they're like, he's technically there in that time period, but not there at the same time.
yeah.
And this movie, that just reminds me, the end of this movie, I have questions. Because,
How does everyone end up at that point?
yeah,
Steven, forget everything you know.
okay.
I'm stealing that. I'm stealing that from Kind of Funny because like that's the only way to explain it.
Mhm.
Is you just literally have to forget everything you know. Like that is the only way we get to that point. Is you literally have to forget the movies that what were made already before this. Forget the movies that are made after this, and just go. They just get there.
Just connect the dots at some point.
Yeah, it just happens. Somehow they age from how they looked in Dark Phoenix to where they look like in X-Men 2000.
Yeah, I was about to say, what year does Dark Phoenix take place in?
It takes place in the 90s.
90s? So yeah, in 10 years.
First Class is 60s, this is 70s, Apocalypse is 80s, Dark Phoenix is 90s.
Yeah, and none of them have aged a day.
And dude, like I gotta say to the parents of the Summers, when we get there, damn, like you had a teenager in the 60s and you decided to have another one in the 70s so he would be a teenager in the 80s. Oh, that's a hell of a gap between kids.
Yeah, they weren't the brightest.
Like that leaves and my problem with that, like, because like we see a lot of the characters also that we'll see in the next one. In this one, when um Xavier uses Cerebro, like we see a white-haired Storm. But then they go, just so you know it's Storm. But it's like then we see Storm in the next one.
Yeah, and
She
she's
has
not white
black hair.
Yeah.
She doesn't have the white hair yet. Like, man.
How did Storm get her white hair between this and X2 or X1 or was Apocalypse always the answer?
You know, Steven, forget it. Just forget it. It doesn't matter. It's not relevant. Um it kind of just happens, okay? So,
Though one thing I also enjoy with this movie is like Mystique storyline. I enjoy that they make her both like she wants to do this thing, but she has to think about everybody else, and there's faith and hope and love, but there's also hatred and disgust and anger, and like I feel like Mystique became the most complex character in all these movies.
man, how they let that fall.
You're not wrong. I mean, and also just good choices still in the casting. I like what they did here.
I mean, it's the same cast.
Mhm.
Like
It is still a good
they
choice.
yeah. I'm not arguing it. I'm just saying it's the same cast. So, you know.
Do you think this Colossus in this movie is the same Colossus that we see in Deadpool?
No, because this Colossus isn't Russian.
Okay. Okay.
He never talks like a Russian if you've listened to him in the other movies.
Okay.
Because it's supposed to be Colossus from, X2, X3. Um, and never talk. Also, I feel really bad for Colossus because, like, in a lot of mediums, I just want to say this. Like, I don't know if you ever played Marvel's Ultimate Alliance. But in that, he also gets ripped in half.
Cool.
But he lives. Because he's like metal and shit.
Mhm.
Like if he were to unmetal himself, yeah, he would die instantly. Um, but he has like one of his hands like smelted off. He's ripped in half and shit. And then like Doctor Doom just mutates him even further. And regrows his limbs and shit because like he stole the Odin powers and shit. It's a fun story.
Okay.
But like Colossus gets ripped in half a lot.
Man, why does he have to be made of metal and bendable and rippable? Gosh.
Yeah, it's it's weird. And then the whole, again, like going back to it, the fucking end point, like seeing everyone there somehow, and like them doing that thing where they're trying to fix the things, like, oh, and Bobby and Rogue are together,
Hmm.
and Kitty and Colossus are kind of inferred together, and like, oh, Scott's still alive. Ooh, oh, there's Kelsey Grammer. real quick cameo from him. I'm like, all right, you got me with that. You got me with that right there. Everything else felt really weird. And
My
yeah,
big question is like, what happened to that Wolverine? Like, I know the Wolverine that we get at the end of the movie is the original Wolverine. So I wonder what life.
what happened to the Wolverine that they will eventually meet that they fucking free in the next movie?
Yeah,
Like that guy?
yeah.
No idea. And like my question about that too, we'll talk about that in Apocalypse. Okay, we'll
Okay.
talk about that in Apocalypse.
Oh,
Because
it's fine.
I have stuff for that, but it requires us getting there. Yeah, dude. I mean, like I said, this movie's a fucking mess, but it also has some really cool shit, but also some really dumb shit.
I think the coolest part is probably the future fights.
Yeah.
Definitely the best part. Um, who is, because I don't know Bishop. Like, he's the one who could shoot people's powers?
He's a kinetic energy kind of power, so he can take energy. He's similar to what actually Shaw does.
Okay.
He takes energy and redistributes it. Um, and he's huge important to the Days of Future Past stories, but also to the Age of Apocalypse stories, because he ends up being a time traveler, similar
Okay.
to Cable.
'Cause, I
Funny
mean, he
enough.
was the one that was originally being sent back in time. The whole power
Yes.
thing that Keith Pride does.
Um, Unfortunately, this is the only movie we get with Bishop, who's one of my favorite X-Men. Because he's really interesting when he gets to do the time travel shit, and like X-Men Age of Apocalypse is really interesting. I'm just disappointing. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to say about it.
Um,
You know what? It leaves me in a spot though where I'm like, I can't wait to see where the rest of this franchise goes. It surely can't disappoint me.
not at all. It can't get any worse than that.
Yep. Well, I mean, yeah, pretty much. Like after First Class and this, like I feel like they're on an upswing. Because you remember I had my theory about the X-Men movies. I've told you about it, right?
I think so,
For
yeah.
every good one, there's a bad one. So, which is funny because there's 13 movies now,
there
so it's off now
has
because
to
of
be
New
one more
Mutants.
bad movie.
Well, New Mutants is kind of the most center of the road movie, so that actually kind of works. It's such a meh movie. Like it's neither bad nor good. It's just forgotten.
Lost
So
in
like
time.
you have the first two, right? And then you have Last Stand and Origins, Days of Future Past, First Class. We'll get to it in Dark Phoenix. Wolverine, Origins, Logan. We could put New Mutants there. And then two Deadpool movies, which just you can't really compare them with the rest of them because they're Deadpool, you
Hmm.
know. So like that kind of works, right? Am I missing a movie? I feel like I'm missing a movie.
Not that I can think of. I mean, I'm not the perfect comic book movie expert here, so.
Oh, I did Origins twice on there. That's what I did. All right, I'd put Origins there. So Wolverine and Logan up here, and New Mutants down here. So it's like if you take out the two Deadpools, it's a 6-5 split. Yeah, the Deadpools, I'd put them on good side, so it's like, you know, a 7-5. 7 to no, 8-5 split. Which is still better than the DC movies.
That disappointing or what?
It really fucking is. Unless you have a better shot of enjoying an X-Men movie than you do the DCEU.
And they still have 3 more movies coming out, man.
Fuck. All right. Popcorn. Here you go.
Popcorns. This movie for me. Thinking a 6.
Wow, that's a lot lower than I thought.
Like, it's fine. It's a mess, but it's kind of okay. It's interesting, but simultaneously boring.
I'm giving it an 8. I know what I said. I said it. Like, X-Men First Class is a better movie. But I'm just more entertained by Days of Future Past. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Which just put it at a 7, so technically it's rated lower than First Class, and I can live with my choices. So I can live with putting it at an 8. Because it doesn't technically, for our scale, put it over First Class. I was really worried it would tie or be higher.
I mean, the two most, like, the most interesting things for me in this movie when it comes to Days of Future Past are, like, the Quicksilver scenes, and then the telepathic communication that happens with past and present, or future and present and past and future versions of Xavier. Like, it's such an interesting, like, he's a telepath who's not only reading the mind of a guy, but reading the mind into the future of a guy, and then using that mind link to talk to another guy. Like, it's a complex mind
How does his
fuckery.
mind? You know how we talked about though the mind thing, where like it would rip your mind going through time and space, but
Huh. That's fine.
fine.
Huh. Also, I think the first movie scared me. Like, could you imagine if the whole, like, Xavier having an ego thing was a lot more prevalent in this franchise? Like, I know it's talked about in Dark Phoenix, and I'm pretty sure it's a thing in the comic books where Xavier is like, "Yep, these are my soldiers, the X-Men. It wouldn't be them without me," kind of thing. I don't know. Like we've determined, I know nothing about comic books, but like, Xavier just became more terrifying to me in these movies because in the first one, he freezes people just by telling them to stop moving, essentially, and he can completely wipe a person's memories away. This movie, he can mind control somebody into using their powers and wake them up from being shot in the neck unconsciousness. Um, and then the next movie, he's apparently the only one who could do what he does, and the only one that's been able to do that in thousands of years.
He's the only one ever.
Uh-huh.
I mean, like that's what is Xavier is supposed to be terrifying because of the scope of his abilities.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, he's
Yeah,
a good
like,
guy, so don't worry about it.
uh-huh. I just think about when we get to the scene in Apocalypse where he's just like, "I remember this time," and then he touches her head, and then she remembers, and it's like, could you imagine if that was just like, what if that was he was the bad guy, and like, I remember this time, and he touches her head, and then he plants a fake memory, like, and then she's like, oh, I forgot about this. It's like, it never happened, but yes, you did forget about it. We used to love each other.
I mean, he's supposed to be terrifying though in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
His psychic abilities are terrifying because you would never know.
Good, are they bad? They're all bad. That's why they have psychic ability.
Man, you would be fucking like right-hand man of Stryker, wouldn't you?
Striker? That depends if I have powers or not.
I'm scared to ask, but which side, depending on which side do you choose, do you have powers or don't?
Can you ask me that one more time, just a little slower?
Which side do you choose if you don't have powers or do?
See, I didn't have superpowers. In reality, like I'd like to think I'd be the person who's like, "Oh, it's great. Everything's fine. Everybody's okay." But a part of me also thinks about how I grew up and from the people I grew up with, and I could see a part of me being like, "Oh, they're different. Order them all." I don't know. Like, but if I had the superpowers, then who cares? I could do whatever the hell I want.
Jesus Christ. All right, moving on.
Slowly, everyone's learning I'm a sociopath.
Moving on.
Ready for the next movie then?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about our next movie, X-Men Apocalypse.
May 27th, 2016, with a budget of $178 million. It opened with a $65 million weekend with US and Canada, and grossed there a $155 million. And the worldwide is $553 million. And you know what? Man, does this movie like have some really cool shit in it, but get bogged down by just a really, really bad choice of design for Apocalypse. Our Marvel Connection of the day, Oscar Isaac. Because literally, like 2 days ago, Moon Knight dropped, and I watched it right before this. And God, is he great in that? Dude, like, the fuck is this movie? Because it just, there's always these moments of you see so much potential. Like the character designs in this, fucking fantastic, great choices. Because you're essentially bringing together the X-Men team, the definitive X-Men team. Okay, you got Nightcrawler, you've got fucking Beast, Jean Grey, Cyclops. You've got Archangel on one side, Psylocke, Storm, Magneto, Xavier, and Mystique, all in one movie. You know how fucking awesome that is to a kid like myself?
That's a pretty powerful group of heroes there.
You're right, because all of them have been heroes and villains at one point or another. Okay, with involving with Apocalypse, especially like in the Age of Apocalypse X-Men Legends game, there's Dark Beast. Like Beast, like gets captured early in the game by Apocalypse, then you save him later. But it turns out Apocalypse brainwashed him. So the entire time he's been helping you during this, like the 3 places you've been to, like where your base is, he's actually been feeding Apocalypse information. And then you find out. And then you're like, fuck, what do we do?
Then you beat the crap out of him and all's right in the world. Beat him up till he loses consciousness. Then he can't be controlled anymore.
It's Apocalypse is coming back for round 2 in this. And then you find, you know, Archangel, because like you guys know Angel. He's an X-Men. But in this movie, we don't get him as an X-Men yet. He just immediately becomes Archangel.
And then, and then things happen.
There's so much in this. Oh, I need water.
You gotta moisten yourself up before you can start yelling more. I said that weirdly, I know, but it's fine. Like this movie, this definitely the one that could have had the most possibility, but it kind of failed. I feel like, especially once they start, like, I know there's already the whole like they can travel through time mumbo jumbo from the other movies, but that's not established yet in this movie that they can travel back in time because the character's not born yet or some shit. But in this movie, I just it's just so strange to me that like this character, like I'm thinking of Apocalypse right now. It's
Okay.
his powers are so undefined that he has every power essentially, but yet he doesn't have the ability to connect to other people, even though he already has telepathy.
He has telepathy. He can talk telepathically, but he doesn't have the ability to control minds like Xavier does. Because a mutant like that hadn't been born when he was conscious.
Mhm. And then,
Um,
like,
which I
when
mean,
he's
okay,
unconscious, he's like halfway transferred, I guess, and then still manages to survive because the healing factor of the guy, I'm assuming, is the explanation.
yeah,
Hmm.
yep,
I think ultimately, if like what Apocalypse could do was more well defined, I think I would like him more. No, like say sure he has all these abilities, and yeah, he's terrifying because you could see him simultaneously fighting somebody in a mental battle as well as fighting four people in a physical battle all at the same time. Like that's the one interesting scary part about him, but we don't know what his powers are while we're fighting him. So like at one instance he can turn everything and disintegrate it and rematerialize it. In another instance he can melt rock, which I'm assuming is still that materialization thing. He has the telekinetic powers, he has teleportation powers, he has amplification powers. Like he's got all healing powers. It's it's almost like, I mean, this obvious I'm basing the references are a little mixed up here, but it's the closest comparison is he's all for one. Like he's just taking everything for himself.
a little bit, yeah. Actually, I mean, like, actually, All for One probably is inspired by Apocalypse.
Yeah, like
Because I mean, it's like I'll say this: it's not a terrible adaptation of Apocalypse, okay, but it is at the same time. Like, I
it's
don't know
costume
how to put
design.
it. Well, it's not even just that. Like, it's just how they do it at the same time as well is really fucking weird. Because like powers, like definitive like powers and shit like that. Wise, it's nearly spot on. Like he has a lot of fucking powers because he does take powers for himself.
Mm-hmm.
To continue to grow an arsenal of abilities. Um, and like one of those things that he really does have is um the the fact that he like fuck that like he does amplify mutant powers.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that he does a lot. That's how he gets his four horsemen every time. Um like
You make a deal with the devil type thing.
pretty much like some of the people who have done the deal with the devil, Angel, um, Psylocke, Magneto, I think Havoc was once a four horseman. There's a future Cyclop who's a four horseman.
Mm.
And he's only got one eye. Um,
In this
because he
movie, we
lost
have
what?
Storm as a four horseman.
Yeah, like it happens a lot. But it just doesn't ever feel quite right with this apocalypse. This apocalypse always feels, I want to say, nerdy. Like I don't know how else to put it. He feels like a dweeb. And like Apocalypse, and this I mean, this is no offense to Oscar Isaac either, by the way. Um this Apocalypse doesn't make me think of this fucking gigantic Goliath
Mm-hmm.
who crushes those around him. Like I don't know if you've seen how Apocalypse is designed in other stuff.
I have not.
Um, but he looks like Darkseid.
Okay.
Like that's how I define him. Apocalypse is similarly designed to Darkseid. Just different at the same time. Like it's definitively like you look at it and you know it's Apocalypse if you know the comics, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
they just have similar like color hues. They use a lot of blues. And a lot of shades of blues for their outfits. Um, but like he's just a big fucking creature that will crush those who oppose him because he lives by the it's oh fuck, what's his motto? Survival. It's a survival of fittest thing. Uh, fuck. What is his stupid fucking motto?
I mean, according to the poster here, it's only the strong will survive.
And motto. I spelled motto.
MOTTO.
Not movie quotes.
Powerful rule? I don't know.
Oh, is it really just survival of the fittest? I thought he had something else to it. He says it quite a bit in the comics.
And also, I mean, like, I'm talking about his amplification powers. Does he ever actually amplify Magneto's power?
No, he doesn't need to.
Thought.
It's okay. Only the fit shall survive.
Basically survival of the fittest, but
Yes. That is what he lives by. Until more recently in the comics, when the whole fucking like island of Genesis thing has been going on, and like he hasn't been that guy for a little bit because he sees the potential of this right now. So yeah. Yeah. This apocalypse doesn't really exude that that survival of the fittest, only the fish shall survive kind of mentality. He kind of just is like,
to me, he
I don't
always
know.
just kind of like, I would compare him to every like Dragon Ball Namekian villain, where he's like an ancient version of himself and he just wants to be young again. Oh, I'm an old man, so I'm not as powerful as I used to be, but I can be as powerful. Fear me.
I wouldn't even give him that. Because like, there's no real like. They just want to rebuild the world. Is all they ever say. We'll rebuild the world in our image.
After they destroy it first.
Yeah, this, and we will rule over the survivors. Like they never say the fit shall survive. Not once. You know, he says it all the fucking time in the comics. The only reason I forgot is just because I haven't read an apocalypse-based comic or played X-Men Age of Apocalypse in a while. But only the fit shall survive. Like, playing that game, you know how many fucking times you hear that shit?
Probably
Or
every other time he hits you.
Watching any X-Men related thing that, like, Apocalypse eventually shows up in, only the fit shall survive. It happens all the fucking time with him. Like, he doesn't even say it in this. It just if this always feels like just missed opportunities. You know.
I get you. I mean, there's a lot of still like, even with if they did everything just right based off of the comic books, there'd still be a lot of questions. I feel like just based off of the movie. Like, my ultimate question is, why is Apocalypse so dependent on that pyramid piece? Like, if Apocalypse is supposed to be the all-powerful person that he is, why does he need some even more powerful relic that's powered by sunshine to keep him alive?
Steven?
Uh-huh.
Just forget about
it. And one thing that I thought was kind of funny too, like my general assumption for casting in this movie is with when they cast Ty Sheridan for Scott Summers, this movie was the ultimate reason why he ended up getting Ready Player One, because they're like, hey, he can act with half a thing covering his face. Let's get him as the main character for this. And it works.
Yeah.
I mean, we got Angel again. We have a bunch of different characters. I
Okay.
liked
Oh,
seeing
the other
Caliban.
thing. Oh, Caliban's cool. Like showing up in this.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for Lucas Till.
Oh, okay.
Because like you get to play Havoc in the X-Men franchise, a pivotal character because he's Scott Summers' older brother. And the movie that we introduced Scott Summers. What do we do, Steven?
No more Havoc.
Havoc is supposed to be tied to like the Brotherhood a lot of times, or the he gets tied to the Apocalypse stuff.
They're trying to set a new precedent and think outside the box to get you to to not expect what's going to happen.
Like team affiliations. He's been part of the X-Men, Avengers Unity Squad, X Factor's Investigations, Starjammers, X Factor 6, Genoshan Magistrates, Defenders of Day, Brotherhood of Mutants, and Dark Descendants.
Both sides, any side.
Ah, he's been all over, you know?
But he was always just a good person in this franchise, based off of how we see it. I mean, sure, we see him when we first see him, he's in jail, and we're never told why. And then we see that his powers are crazy, and then he gets a device to help him focus his powers. Then we don't see him again until this movie, where he doesn't need a device anymore because it's been 10 plus years, I assume. But you know, he was the closest to the blast, you know.
Uh huh.
Only Quicksilver was faster. And could you imagine, like, I'm just thinking, like, if you were Scott Summers in that situation, and suddenly you hear, yeah, I'm pretty sure I got everybody. It's like, pretty sure, not 100% sure.
Yeah, they handled the death a little weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they just had a really cool cinematic scene, so, like, you know, they can't bog that down with a death. Which, I gotta say, speaking of deaths, once again, very gruesome. We get to see people crunched in on each other or turned inside out.
Or fucking eviscerated by Wolverine.
Mm-hmm. Some
Okay.
get melted
Really
into
cool
walls.
fucking moment.
But yeah, the Wolverine thing, that was just like, they decided we gotta figure out a way to close this plot hole that we left open at the end of the last movie. Let's open another plot hole to close that one and then end it with another plot hole. So they solved one hole with two more.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, one thing also that we didn't even talk about in the last movie is the fucking walking medicine. Like, I've been shot in the spine. Let me take this medicine that makes me walk again.
Yep.
I feel like Xavier would be able to pull a Doctor Strange with that and be like, mental telekinesis powers. I can walk totally fine.
Well, he doesn't have telekinesis, he has telepathy. That's what defines between him and Jean. Jean has telepathy and telekinesis. And
And she
Also,
has.
the fun. Okay, real quick, Phoenix power
I
shit.
was about to say, yeah, and she has the fiery power within her already. It's totally already here. There's no
I
cosmic
know we talked
thing.
about it when we talked about Dark Phoenix a lot. We talked a lot about this fact that this happens in this movie. Like, we talked extensively about this and how like it fucks with everything. But just to reiterate, it fucks with everything doing it in this movie.
See, what happens?
If you do what you do with the next one, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense now.
See, what happens there is we're in the middle of. No, there was time stuff where she was like foretelling the end of the world, but she was also foretelling superpowers, and in that moment, the future foretold its way through her. And I don't know.
Okay, and you know the other thing that pisses me off about this movie most of all is where we end. With everyone looking dope as shit. Okay?
Mhm.
If Dark Phoenix opened and they had similar costumes to where they ended this one, I wouldn't hate these two as much as I do. Okay? Because, like, at least Dark Phoenix would have had that going for it.
Mhm.
That we would have had dope ass looking X-Men. Because, like, that scene when everyone turns towards the Sentinels at the end,
Mhm.
and Nightcrawler's in a red, like, jumpsuit kind of look with, like, the fucking two stripe. Mystique is in her white, kind of like almost white and blue dress thing that she wears in the comics. Scott, like, has a badass, like, looks like the leader outfit thing and badass fucking visor. Storm looks cool as shit with the fucking, like, she has the flap thing. She's got her 90s fucking mohawk that she has in the 90s in the comics. She
Mhm.
looks dope as shit. Jean's got a really good outfit for, like, I mean, because, like, Jean's is always a complicated one because, like, if you go with her comic accurate one of what she wore then, it's like it's just a green jumpsuit with a weird like fucking faceplate. So like I think it works for what it is. Like it kind of keeps what that generation of what we know the X-Men look like. So it kind of keeps someone kind of in that style. Beast is wearing what is a Beast outfit. Like he's got it, you know, he's got like showing off his fucking arms and shit. Like everyone looks like their comic counterpart. And I'm like, yes, yes. I can't wait to see how you look in the next movie. You guys can't fuck this up, can you? You're gonna do it right. You're gonna be accurate, right? And then we just go back to the stupid fucking flight suits. We saw these already. We saw them in X-Men First Class. Why are we going back to red and blue? Are you fucking yellow and blues? Why? We saw it. You had it. You fucking had it, Fox. You had it at the end of this. You were right there. Like,
Budget would be my guess, but still.
What?
Yeah, the yellow and blues were cheaper than the one-off costumes that they made.
One-off costumes that I could have just used in the next movie?
They didn't last in storage through the year, you know? Like, they're not movie capable. They just looked good. No, just, yeah. Probably.
It's so frustrating, Steven. You have no idea because those costumes are so fucking good. Like, I don't know how to describe to you how, like, seeing that shot gives me goosebumps.
Mhm.
Like, if this movie has anything, it's that last fucking shot where they're doing the Danger Room thing and fighting Sentinels, and my brain just goes like, dude, I want to play X-Men Legends. Because do you know how long I would spend in the fucking Danger Room?
All the time in the Danger Room?
Dude, we would overpower our characters because we do the same like training simulation over and over to get everyone up to the same level we want them,
Mm-hmm.
collecting what we need for it, and then we would go into the next mission.
Cheater. I'm just kidding.
It's not cheating, it's training.
Uh,
and then we go to the war room and then we go. And it just, but everyone looks like the fucking characters that I had in that game, dude. It's so close, Steven. It's so close to being what I wanted for the X-Men for so long, man. Like,
you know, I'm gonna go off of
to be right there.
You were so close yet so far.
Yes.
I want to go off of a small little tangent because, like, just I love freaking comic book writers when they're with their naming. Like just same with cartoons. They come up with ridiculous names for things. Like last week I was talking about how we had um Zordon, like the great and terrible Zordon, and then we had Rita Repulsa, the weird name. And then like in this movie, we've got Professor X, we've got Magneto, we've got Mystique, we've got Beast, we've got Quicksilver, we've got Cyclops, and then we've got Jean.
Because I think she's Marvel Girl in the comics for a long time. But
Marvel Girl.
I believe so, if I remember correctly.
I mean, yeah, I was about to say we could look that up, but then she got sued or something.
Yeah, Marvel Girl. Yeah. It's that outfit that I was talking about, like the green with the gold.
Okay.
That's kind of definitively like that is what like Marvel Girl looks like, if that makes sense. That era of Jean. So yeah. Her outfits, like I gotta say, like Jean's outfits are probably the hardest to kind of like adapt. Um so I don't entirely blame them for not getting like the most comic accurate look for her. Because honestly, it would be weird to it would look it would be a little it's a little tough to adapt like that green jumpsuit easily.
Yeah, then we
So.
get one of the Maximoff in the like WandaVision Halloween costume.
Yeah, pretty much. It would look like that. Like, I mean, they could do it. And I'm confident with like now Marvel Studios having it, like they could easily do it. Because it would be doable. So.
I was also like, I was reading through all the different names and stuff here, and I was confused because I see Jubilee. I was like, wait, Jubilee was in this movie? Because I remember that being a big thing of controversy.
They just really just don't like Jubilee, I guess. I don't know, man.
Because the next time we see her, she's at least more colorful and doing like colorful things, but still.
No, that was Dazzler.
Okay. And the next time we see her, I know we see
She's
her in
younger
another
and
movie.
in the future.
Yeah. Timelines.
Fox fucked it up.
And then yeah, that's when you get the also you get the Moira thing where he taps her head and suddenly all her memories are back and it's like, oh, that's scary. Then you have the whole like, how the hell did freaking Wolverine get to where he is if the end of the last movie was with Mystique? Unless
Steven.
Huh?
Forget about it.
But what if
Forget
Stryker is a mutant?
Steven.
Yeah?
Forget about it.
Okay, fine. I mean, Fox forgot about it, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. The movie studio forgot about it. It's fine. God, I hate how this ends, man. Like, it ends so close to being like, because I hate how this ends because it ends exactly where I kind of would have hoped it would have ended. It's not a great movie, but like when it ends, I'm like, fuck. I actually look forward to where they could go with this now. And then we got Dark Phoenix, which makes me pissed off at this movie more.
Yeah,
because in turn, I'm like, you saw what you were supposed to do. You did it at the end. You did what you were supposed to do. And like when they fight Apocalypse, like it's actually kind of cool when they fight Apocalypse. Like, yeah, they make Apocalypse look like a little bitch, and it kind of pissed me off. But like seeing everyone use their powers and shit together and doing stuff with their abilities is actually really fucking cool. It's dope.
There's actually two things that I think of with that Apocalypse fight. One of them is Magneto. Like when Magneto's in there throwing all the stuff at Apocalypse. Um, it's like you could see when he's actually being filmed and on camera, like he's doing just the whole like "Arrgh" thing, but then you see like other shots where he's like reacting to things where he's like, oh, the fire's getting too close, or oh, something's coming nearby, but then they immediately cut back to his reaction and it's him going "Arrgh!" And that
Yeah.
there's just the silliness there made me laugh. And the there was one other thing that I was trying to think of here. When when exactly does Psylocke get taken out of the fight?
The plane
Oh yeah, when
when
she
she does that,
jumps and then
s- slides down the building
mm,
and biffs it on the way down.
that's the end of her till things happen.
Yep. And we never see that character again.
Nope. But it looks like she's getting ready to, you know, take over the world and bring back Apocalypse from the dead and oh, but the other thing that I actually want to talk about is Magneto is Eric in this movie. I feel like that also establishes why I really didn't like his character development in Dark Phoenix, because it just continued it from this movie essentially. And in this movie, his whole story arc is I kill everything I love, so I'm going to kill everything until I love, basically. And I feel like nothing, like a lot of that, like sure it's interesting and sad in some aspects, but I feel like a lot of it was forced and unneeded, because nothing, like he's barely confronted, he gets 2 lines of dialogue tossed at him and then he changes his mind, but it has to be from other people, it can't be from Charles, who also threw like 2 lines of dialogue at him and he's like, nope, can't help me, I'm sorry, not happening. Especially when you think about it, like it makes sense coming from Mystique, Raven. It's like, yeah, they have a relationship. But then the other half of the conversation is, why are you here? Protecting my family. And then that's the end of it. Like, but that's enough to motivate him to be like, oh, I guess I should protect the people I once thought of a family too. What did I do this whole thing to begin with again? And then no one cares.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of care, but no one cares. And then we get Dark Phoenix. We have the Deadpools and the New Mutants. But next question: Do we get? Are we back to X1? Are we completely different universe timeline now?
We're on a completely different timeline
Yeah.
at this point.
So we're not going to go to X1,
Dark
X2.
Phoenix happened.
Yeah. Okay. Could you imagine, like, back when they made X-Men 3: The Last Stand, and they're sitting there, they're fighting Dark Phoenix, and Logan's just like, man, this is like a long time ago, even though he wasn't there, of course. But like, I remember this story about you going all crazy a few years
is
ago.
like, God damn, this again?
Yeah.
I'm doing this again?
Basically, yes. I thought we turned the whatever. I thought we were done with you.
I thought it was over. I think that's my problem with this movie is that, like, I think why I dislike this movie even more is because Dark Phoenix happened. 100%. Because this movie brings up pain for me at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, they made this during the era when, like, comic movies started to get cool. You know what I mean? Like, and this wasn't a great comic book movie. And then on top of that, we fucked it up with the fucking the shit fucking the comic book accurate fucking costumes at the end of this, and then we just went back to yellow and black, yellow and blue, like, which is comic accurate, sure, compared like the first generation X-Men costumes, but like that's not what they look like now in the comics.
I've got one more question for you. That's not comic book, not costume related.
Huh?
Who did it better? Flash versus Superman in Justice League, or Quicksilver versus Apocalypse in this movie?
I picked neither.
Neither?
Because, like, I know everyone raves about the fucking Superman moment during that. And if I had to pick, I'd probably pick that over this one.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, the Quicksilver scene in this movie is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I do like the
Anytime I
mansion
hear
scene.
that song kick on and I hear boom, 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 like that fucking just the beat
Mhm.
from it. My brain immediately goes like, this is the Quicksilver scene. Like, that is all this song is tied to me now. Because it's a dope ass Quicksilver scene.
It really is. It's a cool. I like the Quicksilver stuff that we get in this movie and in the last movie. But yeah, like ultimately, my big question is because we don't know what Apocalypse can do. Like, he is getting the shit kicked out of him by a guy who can go super fast, and then like he's going faster than the eye can see, but still he's able to mold concrete faster than the eye can see to catch being punched by supersonic punches.
Yep.
And then like I freaking love that they established that Quicksilver is one of like the most powerful mutants in the world because he can do the like super fast crazy shit. But he's defeated by a broken leg.
Yep. I mean, when your power is just that, like,
I can run real fast. I can't heal real fast.
yep.
But I can run real fast. Gotta love it. Jean does a whole lot of nothing in this movie.
Yep.
Until she's supposed to do something, and then she does, thank goodness. I got nothing else, honestly.
Neither do I.
Cool. Let's get into spoilers.
Popcorn.
I don't want to. I'm giving this movie because I can. See, this is tough. Do I like this movie more than I like Days of Future Past?
Okay, hold up. What?
The only reason why I bring that up is because how much. Don't get me wrong. The answer is no. Obviously, I do not like this movie more than I like Days of Future Past. But
I can admit what I have done wrong by rating a Days of Future Past in first class to 7.5. I know I can admit that, but you're to a higher standard, Steven.
But the reason I bring that up is because, like, I didn't just sit and watch these movies. I had these movies on while I was kind of doing other things. I'll be completely honest. And
how could you not give these movies your
undivided attention? Yeah. Like, when I was watching Days of Future Past, I was like, yeah. Like, I was watching it, sure. But it wasn't quite drawing me in for some reason like Apocalypse was. So, I'm watching it, and I'm like, I know what's going to happen. I don't need to see it. But still, something was like, I should watch what's about to happen here. So, is it a better movie? No.
No, you don't get to do this.
So I'm going to give it I'm just kidding. It's going to be the same score, honestly. I'm going to give it a 6.
I'm giving it a 5. And I think I've made my reasons clear.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
no, you hate this movie because it's better than the next movie.
Yes. Yes. It ends at a note where I want more. It ends on a note, despite it not being a great movie, where I want more, and the more we get sucks.
There were supposed to be scrolls, but then the scrolls were being made in another universe, so
they shouldn't have used scrolls in the first place. Just bring back Hellfire Club. Like the answer was right fucking there.
But who would be in charge of the Hellfire Club? I thought Magneto was in charge.
Can we hurry up? I want to fly into city.
Yeah, let's go to spoilers. Yeah, X-Men. We're talking about all 3 X-Men movies. It's just
we talked a lot about spoilers during this as well, because it's tough not to, because like if you like to dissect these movies, you have to talk about spoilers, because like for people to understand that like it really just it's so abhorrently clear that like Fox had no idea what they were doing with this franchise after a certain point. And like this set of movies makes that so fucking clear. And like we will review like X-Men Origins Wolverine in the future. And that will be the last X-Men we review. And officially we will have reviewed every movie that Fox made for this franchise. And like to say that came before First Class, and then we ended at Dark Phoenix and New Mutants, like, and during that time frame too, we got 2 Deadpool movies, Logan and Wolverine. Like, it's just so all over the fucking place. Like, sure, MCU movies are all over the place too, but like there's a consistency to them that like you're going to get a certain quality. DC even, I understand what I'm walking into. X-Men, you could literally like you can't make heads or tails of what kind of movie you're going to walk into before going in there. Like you just can't. Cuz even some of the good movies that I put on the good list still have demonstrably bad fucking things in it. Like Wolverine. Like Wolverine has that fucking stupid Silver Samurai mech suit at the end. Like, I'm sorry. It's stupid as shit. But that's one of the better X-Men movies, or one of the better movies in this franchise. And it bothers me. It bothers me so fucking much, man. Like, what were we doing, Fox?
Like you're talking about Fox, and I'm thinking about like next week when my thought process was, oh, Fox, the people who didn't know what they were doing with their comic book franchises. Then I was like, now the modern day version of Fox is Sony, where they don't know what they're doing with their comic book franchises. Oh wait, Sony's never known what they were doing with their comic book franchises. Not until they teamed up with Marvel. Like directly teamed up with Marvel Studios.
The only thing I would say to fight that would be Into the Spider-Verse. Because that is all Sony.
That one's pretty good.
It's arguably one of the best superhero movies made. So, and like, I'll say straight up, like, if the X-Men movies get on the list, we already know Logan's going to be probably top 5. If Into the Spider-Verse somehow ends up on the list, it's also going top 5. Like, which would be a stacked top 5, because I see those knocking Infinity War and Shang-Chi off the list, right? And like the top 5 would be like we would have Endgame in there, No Way Home, Civil War, Into the Spider-Verse, and Logan as like a top 5. What a hell list! What a fucking list of movies! But then you look at the other fucking movies on that like that have been made, like the X-Men movies. Like I kind of ranked them, okay, a little bit, just like as a preliminary thing. Because like I say, Dark Phoenix is the worst, and we'll talk about it when we review it. But I would put Origins right above it. Last Stand above that. New Mutants because it's forgettable. Apocalypse, X-Men, Days of Future Past, Wolverine, Deadpool 2, Deadpool X2, X-Men United, First Class, Logan.
The fun part's gonna be when you're not around. Mix this list up, and then he'll come back in and be like, "All right, let's just move it over into our Marvel movie list."
Please don't. I mean, but do you argue with my placements of these movies at this point?
Some of them I can.
All right, let me hear you.
Uh, we're not gonna do this now. We're not listing this stuff. It's not a Marvel movie yet.
I mean, I'm just want to hear
Like
your
you want,
opinion
you
on it.
also want to end this quickly, but you want to get into a deep discussion about how
Yeah,
I
that's fair.
disagree
Never
with
mind.
you.
Let's end it quickly. Never mind. We'll do this when we talk about Origins, I guess.
uh, so not to say that like some of the stuff on that list is fine. Just some things I'd probably move, but we'll get into that later. Um,
Fair.
yeah, just my biggest complaint with this movie is just what's time stuff. Like this whole franchise, because we go from 63 to 70 whatever to 80 whatever, and then we later on go to 90 whatever, and characters don't age. The how they get from one spot to the next doesn't make sense. Um, just then they suddenly rapidly age based off of what we're supposed to understand, and character continuity is off with Storm and like random bullshit with they can walk, he can't walk, he has powers, they don't have powers, he can't not be Beast. Suddenly he has the ability to control it. Like I know that 10 years basically passes between each film, but that it's not a good
Yeah.
thing to just leave your audience being like, "Wait, where didn't we last see them here? How did they get there?"
Yep. Again, just more to the point. Fox had no idea what they were doing. They had X-Men. They had at the time the biggest Marvel property.
Hmm.
Because Marvel Studios actually was starting from a comic standpoint, was starting with like not the best hand.
It's like C-listers.
Yeah, they had the Avengers, and at the time the Avengers weren't big, folks. I'm just gonna say that. Like the Avengers were not the powerhouse they are today, because like it was Spider-Man, X-Men, and Fantastic Four as the main comics for Marvel.
And then Fantastic Four sucked not once but twice. Spider-Man is in the middle of its reboot with the first franchise with like Andrew Garfield at this point. X-Men flopping pretty terribly.
He is all over the place.
Mm-hmm. And then a few years, I think what Iron Man came out in 2008.
Yep.
So
So that would have been right before on this list. That would
First
have been right
class.
before Origins.
Yeah.
uh,
Good time. Goody time.
dude, I can't wait. I really do hope we get to put these movies on this list, because like this list is so fucking silly when I'm looking at like years on it now, because like the earliest movie is a 2002 film. It's just, if we put this on there, X-Men is a 2000 film, and then we literally span like most comic book movies from 2000 to today.
Oh, I just remembered. Um, you missed two Marvel connections, by the way.
Oh, who?
You missed in the second movie. You missed Peter Dinklage.
Right, he plays the dwarf in Infinity War.
And you also missed Evan Peters as Ralph Boner.
I forgot the boner joke. That's my bad. I'm sorry. You know what's funny? Before this week, I reminded myself to remember the Ralph Boner, and I forgot the boner, and I'm sorry.
Okay.
I failed you.
It,
I
it,
forgot the boner.
the only reason why I remember it now is I was like, what was the fucking name? Like, what was the terrible... It's not like Jack Me Off or anything like that. Like, what was the terrible name that they gave him? Ralph Boner. Yeah. Good time.
Right.
Well, all right. I haven't got anything else to talk about except for next week's and like news and wrap up and whatnot. I'm gonna talk.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Well, I'm doing that then. Hitting the button. Oh, god damn it. I fixed this screen. Ugh. There we go. I know I fixed it. I spent time fix, and then the last two. Damn it!
God, you gotta love when things don't work out correctly.
Not one of our streams without that.
Yep.
So, quick news and wrap up. Oscars happened. You could see who won the awards. Don't hit people, kids. Don't pull a Will Smith and smack a comedian just because you don't like what he says.
But like, I get why it happened.
I do understand, but I'm pretty sure Will Smith has ruined his career just from that one slap. Especially also,
I mean,
like
it's a very human moment, though.
Yeah, like he slaps him. I get it. Then apparently the Oscars, the Academy tried to ask him to leave and he refuses. Then he gives a really long speech about like manhood and forgiveness and acceptance where he's embarrassing everyone in his family that are sitting there like, why don't you just shut up and walk away? And
He's having a very human moment. I'm sorry. Are you one of the people who say this is one of the worst moments in Oscar history?
no. Worse things have happened at the Oscars.
Okay. Because it felt like that's where you were going with this.
No.
And I was about to be like, bitch fucking please. And I fully disagree with them trying to take away his Oscar. I'm gonna state that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because if they try to take his Oscar, there is a long list of other people who need to have their Oscars taken away then too.
Mm.
Like a long list.
There's some awful people who have received Oscars.
Yes. So yeah. I'm like genuinely I could care less.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that big of a deal. He slapped Chris, okay? These two people have known each other for 35 years. Who knows what else is going on between their relationship? Like, you know, shit happen. Like, fuck. I've gotten in fights with friends before that I've known for years. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Because they push something over the edge. Like, it happens.
So yeah.
Do I agree with the choice? Like, I can not agree with the choice taken, but also understand why it was why it happened.
Understanding of why it happened. Don't like the result.
I don't necessarily say I don't like. I mean, part of me kind of likes it because, like, it's also funny as shit. Like, sorry, it just is. The memes that have come out of this have been the greatest.
I mean, memes are pretty great. You've got political ones, we've got stupid ones. I like the reaction memes where it's like everyone's reaction to the slap and then they just put different things over it. Like, those are fun for me.
Yeah, it was a very human moment for Will Smith, okay? So like people saying that like he can't act like that, yada yada yada, like I'm sorry, are you always perfect about how you act everywhere? Oh, everywhere you go?
I'm a perfect darling.
Oh, I call bullshit to you. I know you.
Straight edge. Never done a drug in my life. Always the moral compass of the group, you know. That's me. Never done anything wrong ever.
That's really the only news that we have, isn't it?
Basically, yeah. I mean, there's TV shows that came out. I watched the first episode of Halo. Wasn't impressed.
I watched the first episode of Moon Knight and was impressed.
There you go.
Just putting that out there. You made the wrong decision, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also in the middle of watching Star Trek Picard, which is doing fun things. Like, they're now back in... Star Trek Picard's doing time travel bullshit, by the way. Discovery isn't, but Picard is. And now they're back in the year, like, 2024, and they've referenced like a couple of different things. So that's fun. Enjoyable times. only other news that I have that's worth talking about probably is next week's movies.
Don't you mean?
Next month's movies.
There you go, buddy. I got you.
Haha.
Oh,
Hooray.
fuck. I forgot. Dude, this month is going to suck. Like, there are a couple movies I do look forward to. There's 2 movies I look forward to this entire month.
Yeah. I mean, the 420 week is going to be pretty fun, I think. Just have a real good day beforehand, you know. Have some nice lettuce and some candies and
It's okay. We'll talk about what's the plan then, real quick.
yeah.
All right. So next week, obviously, is going to be another superhero week because we're doing Constantine and Morbius because Morbius comes out this weekend. And then week after that, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 comes out, and we're pairing it with Angry Birds.
Because we haven't seen the first one yet.
And it is a weird point on our list that we have Angry Birds 2 on our video game list, but not Angry Birds. So fuck it. There we go. I'll discuss what we're doing for the week 420. After we talk about what we do for 427, which is a Nicolas Cage week where we're doing The Rock and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. And
I
that
look
movie
forward
looks
to
like it's
that
going to be fucking fun.
Mm-hmm.
What we're doing for the week of 420, though. We've kind of played around. Like, one of the things, we've kind of had this discussion for almost 2 years now of what we're going to do when the third Fantastic Beast comes out. Are we going to review it? Are we just going to ignore it? Or are we going to have a discussion? And personal opinion, especially now that, like, what, I'm a year out almost now?
Something like that, yeah.
Like, it would feel disingenuous for me personally on so many levels to ignore it,
Mm-hmm.
but also I have no interest in watching it because as someone who I've been very verbal about this, like, I grew up loving the Harry Potter franchise. But the more shit that goes on with that franchise, the more unwilling I am to sit through anything of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, being genuine, I don't know if I would if like a group of friends and I went to Universal, I'm not stepping foot in Harry Potter land because it just I have nothing that really ties me to it anymore. Except for memories with my dad at this point. And other people. Like, there's nothing that makes me want to see it or any of the medium. Like, young me would have loved what we saw for Harry Potter Legacy.
I enjoyed Harry Potter Legacy, but I get what you're talking about.
The franchise just, I have no will for it anymore. Which is why I'd like to have a discussion. And I will personally look into guests. So yeah, that's what we're doing for that.
Yeah.
We're not going to review it, but we're also not going to ignore it.
Some of the like if we have multiple guests, one of them might have probably seen the movie in theaters, and they could maybe talk about their opinion of it, but we'll see. Just at this point, I mean, I won't force you to watch a movie that you absolutely don't want to see, like I have 100 million times in the past.
Hey, and like this one is also just more on a moral standpoint too. Like, I can't in good conscience like review, like, pay to see this movie.
Mm.
You know, like, I just can't.
What if I told you? I mean, this is just a hypothetical here. It isn't the truth at all. But like, what if none of the profits from this movie went to She Who Must Not Be Named? Would you still feel the same way, or
It's still promoting her property. She would still own the property.
Mhm.
And even then, the property is so problematic on so many levels. But I can talk about that week.
I mean, heck, I love the fact that wizards used to just poop in the hallway and then use spells to clean it up.
Steven, if you think that's the problematic thing,
I know there's worse, but still.
Let me tell you, buddy, there's a lot worse. There's a lot worse in that fucking world. The more the more you dissect, the more you're like, the franchise isn't that good
I mean, yeah,
as well.
everyone loves the fact that there's only one Asian character and only one person of color, and everybody else is white, and there's no discussion about sexuality until 7 years later on Twitter, when the entire time this character was gay, and they're all about the inclusiveness, except if they don't have the right reproductive organs. Mm-hmm. There's a
And that's
list.
not even the worst of it.
Yeah, that's the surface level.
That's if like you're going off of what JK says.
Mhm.
uh um 'cause when you start to go below the surface, man, does that list get long after a certain point? We'll talk about that because I feel we should talk about it. As someone who like I said, I loved Harry Potter, so like I feel like it's something I can talk about. So
Yeah. So yeah, that's next month and next week. Oh yeah, the the Goblin Rebellion in the video game that's
yeah,
coming out.
that's one of the things.
Yeah.
Like we'll talk about it. Don't worry, we will
Yeah,
talk
we'll
about
get
it.
there in a few weeks. We'll talk about it. Oh boy, oppression. Everyone's saying. All right, yeah, I think we're
Your
done.
house elf, get back to work.
Uh, I think we're done here today. Are you done here? I think we're
I'm
done
done
here.
here, dude.
Yeah. So yeah, next week, and we're gonna watch the shit show that is Morbius. I mean, it's gonna be great. Yeah.
Don't even fucking sugarcoat it. Don't even. I know I'm the reason why we're reviewing this movie because it's a comic book movie and we've kind of made that stipulation for a long time that we do comic book movies because of me, and I'm the reason we're gonna have to review this, and I'm sorry. But just don't remind me.
Mm. See, if I played the I don't want to watch this movie card, I'd be the victim, but it's fine. Or I'd be the bad guy.
Yeah, but like Morbius
There
is
we
the
go.
one that you actually want to see. Because every time I bring it up, I've brought it up until you started to see trailers at movies, Steven. You know how many times you're like, oh, I'm actually interested to see what they do with Morbius. Because
I mean,
it's the one comic book that I own and yada, yada, yada. I'm
yeah.
like, just you wait, Steven. I'm going to be right about this. And the trailers keep coming. And I'm like, I'm right about this.
Oh,
No.
apparently I saw that. I don't remember which news line it was, but that whole like the line at the end of the trailer where he's like, "Oh, I'm Venom." Just kidding. I'm favorite neighborhood
I'm
doctor.
I'm your doctor, Michael Morbius.
Yeah, like apparently that line was ad libbed, and they still decided to use it in the movie. Like that was Jared Leto being like, "I was just gonna say this." It's not Jared Leto. That's next week. We get to hate our lives again next week. At least we get Keanu Reeves for a movie. Yeah, yeah, that one will be fine. Fine. That's why that movie got a sequel and everything. Okay, yeah, we're done. Yeah, like all the things. Ring the bells. Leave us. Thanks for being here. Like, comment, subscribe. Leave a review. I kind of just want to see how long you keep doing this, but I guess we'll end it here. Goodbye, everybody. See you next week for Constantine and Morbius.
Hi, I'm your friendly neighborhood Michael Morbius. Here to serve you, break your wrist, and then wrap up your wrist. Because I'm a vampire also. Can I suck your blood? Blah.